Is there such a thing as an altruistic lie? Can a lie have good intentions? And can it be moral? Stephanie Ericsson argues no. She gives this example in her text, The Ways We Lie. A sergeant in Vietnam reports a soldier missing instead of dead, even though he knows he's been killed in action. This way, his family receives an indefinite sum of money instead of a lump sum pittance that they would receive that is given to widows and children. But the family remains unable to move on to a new life, holding on to this hope that the soldier will return alive. The intent of this lie was good, and he did it with the intention of helping the family, but it actually ended up harming them. Immanuel Kant would agree in this sense. A lie is never okay, not in any circumstance, nor any intent. He describes something called the categorical imperative. If something would be good and do good, if every single person in the world did it, then it is moral. In this case, lying is not moral because if everyone constantly lied, we would not be able to function as a productive society and we would not be able to trust one another. On the other hand, we have people like Niccolo Machiavelli, who assert that the ends justify the means. If people get what they want out of lying, then the lie itself doesn't matter. People can do anything if it means they'll achieve the outcome that they desire. I believe that how much a lie hurts is based off these three categories: the type of lie, the extent of the lie, or the magnitude of the lie, and the trust you have with the person that has lied to you. So, my first point: are some lies more ethically immoral than others? Stephanie Erickson in The Ways We Lie outlines multiple different types of lies. First, we have the lie of omission, when information is conveniently left out. Then we have a blatant lie or an out and out lie. Then we have the white lie. This is bad because it means you decide what the other person would or wouldn't want to hear. For example, you compliment someone on their dress knowing that it doesn't look that good. You're deciding to protect their feelings. Maybe they would have wanted to hear the truth. Other types of lies include omission and dismissal. I'll link the entire text in the description below. Is there an instance where one of these lies is always more immoral than others? It always has a worse effect. Arguably, no. The lie depends on the situation and context it is in, but some of these lies could be smaller than others, such as the white lie, which may not be as harmful as the full on, out and out lie. But what if the outcome is preserving somebody else's feelings? Maybe not even just preserving somebody else's feelings, but maybe you're actively helping somebody out by lying. Maybe they're really stressed about a submission, and you say, "Don't worry, I did my part," when you haven't even started. You're preserving their feelings and making sure they're not stressed, which could in turn increase their health. However, it's still a lie. In that case, is lying okay? Or what about in another circumstance where it would really stress somebody out knowing that another friend was talking bad about them? So you just don't tell them. That's a lie of omission. And although it has a good intention, again, you're deciding what they know and what they don't. But is it always so black and white? The thing is, everybody lies. So does this mean we don't trust anyone? I remember that after I got lied to, it was a significant moment. I actually locked myself in my own cage of doubt. I thought, if even my closest friends can lie to me, how could I trust anyone? How could I connect to anyone? But humans are social animals, and these feelings of isolation don't help. In any case, it's better to put some faith in others, but put more faith into yourself. Stephanie Erickson mentions this in her passage also. She talks about how Dr. R.D. Liang noted that people with schizophrenia actually did not have this disorder when they were younger. They had an accurate grasp on reality, but their family constantly denied these perceptions, and eventually they developed the disorder. In this case, even though it is extreme, it's important to consider that your judgment is always important, and you should not value anyone else's claims over your own. But what about lies of conformity? On social media, which is increasingly prevalent today, a lot of people are subject to groupthink, which is when they simply agree with what the majority says. If you've ever seen someone looking up at the sky and multiple people come around and start looking as well, even though there was nothing there in the first place, it's an incredible example of groupthink. Similarly, Solomon E. Ash conducted a study about conformity. It was a while ago, but the premise remains the same. He basically took three lines of different lengths and showed participants a line. There were seven participants in front of him. One was the person he was experimenting on, and the other seven were involved in the study. These seven lied about what the correct length was and which one of the three it matched. In a majority of the circumstances, the last participant, who was not involved in the study at all, actually displaced their answers to meet what the other participants had said who had lied. Now, this could prove to be a problem if used by society. Lying could perpetuate a cycle of lying. If people keep saying that B is the same length, then others will start to say that too, making the majority larger and larger and putting more and more pressure on others to conform to that belief. This way, it's important to always trust your judgment, as I said before, and be outward about it. Don't just deny your perceptions because a majority of people don't agree with you. Acknowledge that maybe that's their version, but this is mine, and that's completely okay. Circling back to the notion of trust, the third reason why a lie hurts so much. We may not feel particularly offended if a stranger out on the street lies to us. But if it's someone who we have trusted for years, it does hurt. So, can an altruistic lie exist? A lie with a good intention? Well, some people in the first place argue that altruism itself doesn't exist, because even if we do something for the good of others, we do it because of the chemicals in our own brain it releases, making us feel happy and satisfied with ourselves. In this case, an altruistic lie could never exist. But if we lie, for example, to save somebody else's life, would it be okay then? Let's say somebody comes over and you know there's an intruder in your house that threatens to kill anyone who comes inside. So you make up some lie to get them to go away. Is that morally correct? You're saving somebody else's life, and multiple philosophers agree that human life is important. Conserving happiness is important, and happiness stems from people being alive. So, in this case, is it ethical to lie? The truth is, lies are not always black and white. Some people lie with good intentions. Some people lie without knowing the damage it'll cause. And some people lie full well knowing this, but they believe it's good to further their own self interest. In this case, they're helping themselves, just not helping others. But some may argue that helping yourself puts you in a better position to be able to help others. So, let's not close ourselves off, even though people lie for so many different reasons and in so many varieties. You want to put some faith into humanity so you can function properly and make those meaningful connections. But if you would like to see some more honesty out there, you have to start with yourself. Maybe you'll be kicked out of an organization for saying you didn't feel like attending instead of, oh, I was at a doctor's office. But the truth is, if you want to put some faith into others, you're going to have to do it first yourself. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Because if nobody starts, honesty is never going to happen. So at the end of the day, be sure to hold yourself to a higher standard of honesty. Trust that others will do the same, but always trust your judgment the most. This was Alina, And thank you for listening to Life Fulfilled.